Hi all, welcome back to yet another video related to functional programming with React.js. This is a continuation of my previous video related to project Skill-Xchange that use React.js and Firestore. The agenda for this video is to explain the functional programming principles and the design patterns that are being used in the project. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first function or the first principle that I would be talking about is pure function. What is a pure function? A pure function is a function that gives same output for the same set of input and has no side effects, as in it does not change the external state. What I mean by this, let's just look at an example. It might be a little difficult to understand with the code that I have right now, but let us just go through the example and we might so that we are clear on this particular topic. So I have an example, a function in here. Do you think this is pure? Let me just give you 1 minute to think. Okay, so if you said this is pure, then you're wrong. This is an impure function. Why is it an impure function? So we know it should give same output for the same set of input. Now, when you call cup for the first time, what it does, it increments guess by 1, and guest would have 1, and the output would be teacup for guest 1. When you call cup component for the second time, what happens is, since it was already implemented in the previous call, um, guest would have 1 in it. So 1 plus 1 would become 2. So teacup for guest 2. Likewise, it continues. So every time, since though this is a same component, same input, right? But the output that is provided is different. So this is not a pure function. How do you make it pure? What you can do it. One thing that you have to be clear that you cannot modify the external variables. So let me just remove this guest. You want to make it dynamic. So what you can have is you can pass it here. You can pass guest equal to 1. Let me, oh, sorry. 2, 3. Okay. So we have this in here in the call. Since we are passing this value, we need to have something like this in here. I'll just remove this just for better understanding. Now, what happens at this moment? When you call cup with guess equals to 1, the guest will have value as 1, teacup for guest 1. Now, when you call 2, it will display teacup for guest 2, 3, teacup for guest 3. What happens if you give the same thing again? If you call same thing again, it will give exactly same output. So this is a pure function. This is what we mean by pure function. Here is another example. What do you think? Is this a pure function or an impure function? So this is a pure function. Now you might say, hey, you had guessed in there and you said you do not have to have variables, and you do not need to you should not be modifying it. Isn't this doing the same? You have an array called cups and you're pushing value into the array. So isn't it modifying the array? And how is it pure? But the major difference here is that it is completely fine to change variables and objects that you've just created while ranking. This is this cup, you just created it. It wasn't already there, right? You created it while rendering. You're not modifying that was already there before your code rendered. If at all this was outside in here, maybe somewhere here, uh, and had then yes, this would make it impure. But then if it was inside the function, if it was here, then it is pure because you just created it and you're using it. I hope this is uh, clear. And if you have any questions, please do drop a question, drop a comment down below. The next principle. Okay, before that, let me just have a show you the how it is being used in our code. So we have handle logout functionality in our code, which will do exactly same. It will remove the user, it will clear the local storage, it will set an email, and it will nav email to null. It will, remember, it is not directly modifying it, rather it is using set email. There is something called as use state in React, which is used to induce side effects, um, but it does not modify it directly, which is valid. Then you're using navigate to sign in page. So this does, whenever you call handle logout, it does the exactly same thing every time you call it. So this is a pure function. Next principle that we'll be talking about is immutability. What is immutability? Immutability, as it suggests, it is the data that is there is not modified directly. Let me pull up an example for it. Here we have const numbers array. What we're doing is we are pushing 4 to it and doing console.log. Now, what would the output of this be? It would have something like 1, 2, 3, 4. Does this follow immutability? No, this breaks the principle. This is the numbers array is mutated here directly. Instead, what would you do? You can have const updated numbers equals to numbers, comma 4. Now, what you can do is console.log numbers, updated numbers. Now, this is something called a spread operator, which uses the existing array and then adds 4 to it. Now, for the first console log, it would be 1, 2, 3, and for the second console log, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope you get it. Right. So it has not modified numbers, rather created a copy of it and then worked on top of it. So this follows immutability. So this is basically it. How is it done in our code? We have something we have a feature wherein we are filtering out skills based on the user ID. Right, so all skill has all the skills that are there in the project, in the database, in the collection, so to say. What we're doing is we are filtering out all the skills that are associated with the user ID that's currently logged. Since filter returns a new array and does not modify all skills, this follows immutability. Now, after this particular statement, this particular line, if you write console.log all skills, it would still have all the skills and not only the skills specific to the user. And this is basically the principle of immutability. The other principle, the next principle, or one of the, I think, difficult one to understand principle is the first class functions. So basically what it means is that a function can be assigned to a variable, passed as an argument, or returned from another function. It's as simple as that. What we're doing in here is there's this component skill form, right? And we know that this is a function. We are passing this entire function to skill form. If I open skill form, here it says on skill added or updated. It's just used like any other parameter, right? So it's just used as a value. A particular function is just used as a value wherever, like whenever it's needed, it's being used. As simple as that, right? So if you see here, It's just used here. Whenever your code demands, it's being used. And if I go to my example section, so this might be a little easier to understand. Console.log execute function. So we have a function that called greet name that greets name. So what we're doing here is we are passing greet as a value to execute function. And then using that, we are calling greet function. So the greet is used like any other variable. It's used like a value, right? So this is first class citizen. The next one that we need that I'd be explaining is higher order functions. Higher order function is nothing but a function returning another function. This is something that you might be aware of in Python as well. So we have filter, map, all these are higher order functions. So here use effect in skill list.jsx. Use effect is a function which has fetch skill user ID function passed to it. So a function within the function. This is a callback which will return a certain value to use effect. Got it? So this is a higher order function. Next is declarative over imperative. This is pretty much straightforward. It's like, hey, I do not want to tell you how to do it, but rather I'll tell you what to do it. I'll tell you like say, hey, I want a navigation bar, a navigation pane in my screen, but I do not want to tell you how to do it. Like I'll tell you, look, whenever the path is user, you need to have this. Whenever path is um uh, not user, then you have to this. But then how do you do it? How do you fetch it? How do you decide it? It's up to you. The DOM components are all taken care by React, which is why this uh, React itself this makes it declarative and not imperative. Imperative would be something like telling, pick this item from here, pick this element by ID, pick this button, pick this. You might have seen this a lot in JavaScript, and then you have to code the entire thing. Here, you do not have to bother about it. That's pretty much it about the functional programming principles, and let's dive into design patterns. So the first pattern that I would talk about is module pattern. Module pattern is something that you encapsulate all the functionalities associated with a particular a thing within a file. It's like I have something called my firestore.js. So here, all the details, all the things that are associated with my database, Firestore database, all the CRUD functions like update, create, delete, promises, everything is being handled within one my Firestore handler, and that handler is exported um, with the name mydb, right? So um, this entire encapsulation is called a module pattern. So this could also be considered as a singleton because same MyDB is used across various components. But for now, let me just keep it as is. Let me show it to you as a module pattern. The next one is context API as singleton. A singleton pattern ensures that there's only one instance of a class or an object that is created or shared across the application. We know that whenever user logs in, that email is being stored in local storage. We have used context API so that this is being shared across the application using the context, email context. There's only one version of email context. This email context is sent across to all the other components within the application. If it is Vinil D'Souza at the rate hotmail.com, that's same across all the components within the applications shared. So which is why this is a singleton. There's only one instance of this particular object. Next is factory pattern. Factory pattern is more like you give the components to it and then let let React decide what it wants to do. You are in the user page. You say, "Hey, I'm in the user page. I want a navigation bar." Now the React has to decide, hey, which navigation bar should I um, uh, display? What should be the components within the navigation bar? So if at all it's in user, then it should have logout functionality. If it is in the home page, it would have sign in, sign up functionality. Both are navigation bars, but then which one to be given? What is the output? The input is same. Both are saying, when you're in user, you say, hey, I want navigation bar. When in home page, you say, hey, I want navigation bar. Both the input is same, but the output that's given is based on a certain logic, and that is being encapsulated within the factory. That is pretty much it with respect to design patterns and functional programming principles. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I have this on my GitHub repo, and if you want me to cover anything in specific, then I can do that, but just drop a comment down below. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.